Hey guys, welcome to my channel Bit Glenn. My name's Glenn and I like to share with you what I learn in the world of cryptocurrencies as I go through it. So I just wanted to do an update on Ether Homes, the project that I started along with you guys watching this video. Started it about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and a lot of you have been sending me messages saying, can we have an update of what's going on? I've done a few live streams when I've been sort of travelling from place to place. I've been going around the country quite a lot lately, so I found it very difficult to sit down and produce a video, you know, like this, where I can talk to you guys quite freely without the sort of interference of life, wife, kids, friends, work, all that sort of stuff. So it's now it's about 9:30 on a Monday night. I got back home late last night. I was away for about 3 days. Obviously I've done a live video telling you guys what had happened, but I thought this would give me a perfect opportunity to sit down and we'll just go over what Ether Homes is, what I'm hoping to achieve, and where it's at the moment. So let's get right into that video. So, as always, thank you to everyone that's been liking and subscribing the videos, and to everyone that's been following the Ether Homes journey. So, as you guys know, I've created a Twitter, a Telegram profile for Ether Homes, and I've actually created the token. So, let's just quickly run over what is Ether Homes. I have been purchasing properties for about, what age am I now? 15 years. So 15 years I've bought and sold homes in the UK. I've bought them personally, I've bought them through work, I've bought them with people as a partnership, or I've bought them obviously as a married couple. I've also been divorced, so I've seen the ugly side of trying to get out of homes, and I typically have quite a good knowledge of renovating homes. So that's a background about me. Going forward, I have a business model that I have actually already started to do. So this is something that I'm doing in the background as well as these YouTube videos anyway. So regardless of whether this project takes off or not, I'm doing it already. But what I found really interesting was a lot of people kept messaging me, and I said, oh, how cool would it be to have a token where it raises funds for the business model that I'm running, so that the people that invest in the token are actually the shareholders. Now, at the moment, me and my partner, we have a business and a partnership, a limited company, and we go 50-50. And I thought to myself, I could probably implement this, but without him there, but all have token holders as my 50-50 partnership, or along those lines. And hence this gave me the idea of creating this token, Ether Homes, or just the home token, to give people the chance and the opportunity to buy and hold a token which would then equate to a share of that partnership, that business. Now that business owns assets. Whenever you evaluate a company, you look at their assets versus their debts, and that is typically how a lot of companies, especially in the S&P 500 or the FTSE 100, that's how they get judged and reviewed on. And things like profit reports and end of year production levels, so if you've produced more phones or cars than you predicted you did, that normally gives you a little boost in price. But these companies predominantly are targeted on their profits each year, and also obviously their assets to debt ratios. Recently, because of COVID, we've seen a lot of companies that are actually eating into their profits and actually starting to sell assets off. So we've seen a lot of airlines, they're starting to sell planes and things of that nature. Cruise ships are starting to go up cheap, and because they're trying to sell their assets to keep the company ticking over until obviously everything went back to normal. So assets are a part of the business. That is, some of you out there seem to get confused with like, well, who owns the property and what share do I own of the property and stuff like that. So I've created a limited company called Ether Homes, which is registered in the UK. And you will have an equal amount of shares of that company to the tokens that you hold. So just for example's sake, if there is to be 1 million tokens created, there will also be 1 million shares in the company created. Now, when you create a company in the UK, especially a limited company, one of the first questions they ask is, how many shares are there in this company and who holds what percentage? My idea was originally I thought I had to do it 50-50, but I actually, after doing research, realised that I had to have at least, me personally, so I have to have a 25% stake share in the shareholders, otherwise I can't run the business efficiently. That's not an excuse, that's just how it is. So if I was to go and get a mortgage on a property, they would say, Glenn, you only own 17% of the company, you don't have the right or the authority to go and get debt against assets in this business. So I need to have 25% shares at least. So there will be 25% shares dedicated for me. That's my angle. That's my, if you like, my in, my out, whatever you want to call it. That's my. A lot of people will say, "How are you making money?" That is it. So I will have 25% shares of the company, whether I hold tokens or not. So I don't particularly care whether I'm a majority shareholder of the tokens, which I think is even cooler for you guys, because a lot of these projects out there you see have a majority shareholder. So if we go to Etherscan, actually, I was checking this out the other day. And if we search up any project, now what's the one I was looking at? Let's look up, there was one, was it FFS? Yeah, so this one has pumped loads today. This one has pumped like 260%. And when I checked it out, I thought, oh, let's have a look. So they've got 1,600 different addresses. So not a huge amount, but this is like a small market cap coin. And you can see every transaction that's happened on there. But if you actually click on this tab here where it says holders, it actually breaks down for you who owns what. So you can see here, there's only 30,000, 60,000 of this coin to be created, but only 35,000 of them have been released. And someone owns 27% of the whole supply of the token. So they own 16,258 of those coins. That's a lot. Now you can see ones like this one here, Hotbit, so that's actually an exchange. So this exchange owns 2,943 of the tokens. We've got some over at Uniswap, and then there's a load of addresses. So this gives you a full breakdown. Now, I'm not picking on this one, but if we look at some of the other ones out there, let's have a look at, I always seem to mention Chainlink, like as if I'm bashing up on them. Oh, what have I done? Let's search link then. Chainlink token. So there's what's that? 1 billion or 1 trillion, whatever amount of tokens there are. Let's have a look at the holders of this token. So you can see here that there's actually a wallet address that owns 35% of all the tokens in Chainlink. So that's a huge amount. Then you have another person who owns 5%, 5%, 5%, 5%. So you would imagine this is the development team. So if you add that all up together, you're talking about 45, 50% straight off the bat. And then you've got obviously some other ones. So you can see Binance is one of the big holders. They actually own 3% of the token. Then there's Binance 8, so they actually own more than that. You got crypto.com, you got Balancer. So really cool that you can actually view all of this. I didn't know that all this information was accessible until obviously I started using Ether Homes. So for me personally, as it stands at the minute, if we go back over to my token, so let's view on Etherscan, you can see here that if we go to one of the transactions, this is the amount of Ethereum that people have been putting into it. So we're currently at about 28,000 tokens, which is awesome. Thank you to everyone who's taken the risk to obviously invest in me. Now, just remember, this is actually a smart contract. So The Ethereum that you're sending, I'm not receiving my end. So I have no access to any of this Ethereum. Even my own Ethereum that I put into it, I have no access to my own Ethereum either. Because once you send it to the contract address, the address that's printed right across the middle of the website, so this smart contract address, it goes into a smart contract where a couple of stipulations have to be met before it will mint and activate this sale. So it has to hit a soft cap of 120 Ethereum. So it has to have 120 Ethereum totally raised before it's activated. And the 24th of September has to pass. So we have to wait till 10 in the morning on the 24th of September. So those two conditions have to be met for it to go ahead. So the money actually, the Ethereum actually gets held in a contract called a vault, which means no one can have access to it until the smart contract releases it. Which is awesome, because it takes obviously the responsibility from me to do that. So anyone who's looking to invest can sort of have a bit of trust and say, okay, you know, at least my money's going to be held somewhere. What happens if those two things aren't met? Let's say it doesn't hit 120 and obviously 24th September is going to come about, hopefully. Otherwise it's the end of the world. What will happen is the contract won't trigger and the pre-sale won't kick in, so therefore all the Ethereum will get sent back to whatever addresses they've come from. So if you're watching this and you've already invested, you may recognize your Ethereum address on here somewhere. These will get returned back to you if the pre-sale doesn't work. So that is something that not many projects out there are offering. You pretty much put money into them and it could go bust at any time, or they could take the money away at any time. So you are locked into whatever they want to do with the funds. Whereas at least I'm giving you a little bit of a safety net, if you like. So that's something that obviously we're doing differently to a lot of other projects out there. So let's just say that the target is met. We hit 120 Ethereum, 24th of September rolls round. What happens then? Well, that amount of money, the Ethereum that will be raised, will be then converted so that I can go and purchase a home, a property in the UK. And that property will be bought under the sole purposes of to be rented out, and the profits to go into a business account that is registered to Ether Homes Limited. Now at the end of the year, the profits from that sale, the profits for the year, if you like, they can be distributed to all the shareholders or people that hold the tokens. But how can I monitor this? So what we can do is we can take a snapshot of anyone that's holding the coins at that specific time, and we can give them more home token. Or we could pay people out in Bitcoin or Ethereum. Obviously, if it was Bitcoin, everyone would have to send me their Bitcoin addresses and I'd have to fill that out and arrange all of that. The easiest way is to send everyone Ethereum, which hence why the company is called Ether Homes, because I'm offering Ethereum along with obviously the purchase of homes. And yeah, everyone can take a share in that. Now, the bigger picture of this is that you actually own a proportion of a home. So let's just say that these people here, let's have a look at the different tokens. So say this person here, he's put 1 Ethereum into it, so that means he got 2,500 home tokens. Well, that means he has 2,500 shares. Now, I don't know what that is in percentage terms. We can have a look if we go to the home token, and that means that person will own that many home token shares in the company, so they will own that percentage. So what I'm trying to say is, let's just say someone purchased 10% of the total supply. Well, that means they have a 10% stake or share in the business, which therefore they have a 10% of the any assets that are associated with that. Now, I'm not thinking of just buying one property. I'm thinking of buying 10, 15, 20 properties. And if you own one token, then you have one share of all 3 or 10 or 12 properties that is under that business. It's not just one property. So if you're thinking, oh, I'll buy a token and I own a little bit of a house, you won't. You will own a portfolio of properties. This makes the coin more desirable. It should increase its value over time because it will have more assets than its debt ratio, same as stocks and shares with a company. So the token value should rise in value. Should. Obviously, I can't promise anything because I would be telling lies if I could. So that gives you a good UK use case and a reason why the token should go up in value. So that's one reason to invest. But the other side of it, which I find more exciting, is that you then own a portfolio of, a property portfolio. It's. I think a lot of people, especially in the UK, we're drummed that you should own your own home. Well, what if you could say to your friends and family, well, actually, I own 10% or 5% or whatever it is that you purchase, maybe 0.1%, but you could say, well, actually, I own a share of 6 properties. And some people will say, what? How have you done that? Well, there's this thing called Ether homes, and the more tokens you own means you own more percentage of a portfolio of properties. That, to me, is the bigger picture. That's, hopefully, obviously, the project keeps getting bigger and bigger. Now, you may say, well, Glenn, how are you going to keep buying properties? You have only raised 120 Ethereum, which means you only have £35,000, maybe 400,000, £40,000, depending on the price of Ethereum on the day. Well, the actual plan is to recycle the money. When I say recycle, this is the business plan, forgetting the token now. So I've mentioned a bit about the token. If we have a look at recycling money in homes, there's this business model or this theory that this article here from Property Geek, how to own 10 properties when you can only afford deposit for one. So essentially what you do is you purchase a property, you then renovate it and add value onto that property. You then take out a mortgage on the property at that point. At that point, the property is now worth more. And typically in the UK, you can borrow up to 75% of a property with a mortgage. So let's just use some examples. Let's say that I bought a home for £100,000. Obviously, I use £25,000 as a deposit. I then go in and renovate the property for 15 grand. But now, because the property is renovated, it's more desirable, it's in a good location, it has a high demand, a good rental yield. Now the property is actually revalued, or it's worth, according to estate agents or surveyors, it is now worth 130,000, which isn't. You spent 100 on it, 15 doing it up, so you spent 115, so 130. That's not too bad, whatever it may be. Well, when you come to getting a mortgage on that property, they will mortgage it on the new figure, the 130. Now, if we do 75% of 130, let's just do that together because I believe it's something like 98,000. So let's say we've got this property, it's now worth 130,000 and we're going to minus off 25%. Actually comes to, I was close, I said 98. It's actually 97,500. Now, remember, we bought this property for 100 grand at the beginning, but we put down 25 grand as a deposit. So therefore, we only actually owe 75 grand against the house, and we spent 15 doing it up. That would bring our total spend to something like £90,000. So therefore, we've actually, in this example here, able to get 100% of our money back out of the property plus 7,500. So now, instead of having that 35 or 40,000 pounds, we now have potentially 42,500 or even 47,000. So you've increased the money. Now, I don't expect to increase the money. I mean, if that happens, great, give or take. Sometimes you'll probably end up leaving a bit of money in the property. But essentially, if you're getting 100% return on investment within the space of 3 to 4 months, say, and that's quite conservative as well, I reckon you could do it in 2 months. You can then use them funds. You're back at your 35 to 47 potentially £1,000 in your bank again. You go buy another one, and then you go buy another one. Now, it is time consuming. The whole turnaround from viewing a house, bidding on it, even if you bought it at auction, they normally give you 30 days to turn it around. So that's 1 month. Plus you've got to do all your research before. So you're talking a couple of weeks to a month. So potentially now you're looking at 2 months just to buy the damn thing. And then obviously you have to renovate it. And that could take anywhere between 2 weeks and 2 months, depending on how much work you're willing to take on. So then you've got all of that going on. And then once it's done that, you then have to let it out. So by the time you've actually received those funds back, all in total, you're talking about a turnaround of about 4 months. So therefore, you can probably only get away with doing maybe 3 of these a year. That being said, once you've got a bit of equity behind you, more options become available to you. So you can actually get mortgages I think they use a term called skimming or something like that, where if you've got, say, 5 properties and they've all got sort of 25-30% in them because they've gone up a little bit and you left 25% in anyway, they can say, okay, well, we'll hedge your deposit across obviously the 3 other properties that you've already got, so therefore you can start then turning properties around maybe a bit faster. Banks start willing to offer lines of credit, so you can go and purchase a property for 100 grand because they say, well, look, he's actually made a success of it with the first 5 properties, the chance are he's going to do it again, so here you go, here's a load of funds that. And now you haven't got to worry about mortgages, broker fees, product setup fees, mortgage fees, like all of these things all of a sudden you're cutting out. So now your profits are becoming better. And if you can go to someone, whether it's through auction or actually person face to face or through an estate agent, you can say, look, I'm a cash buyer. That means a lot, because that means that you're in a position to buy the house cash. All you need to do is get a solicitor to sign the deeds over into your name. The rest of it, you're just paying cash. You haven't got to go through the 4 to 8 week length process of applying for a mortgage. You don't then have to worry about people backing out or dropping out. If you're paying cash, as soon as you transfer the money, the house is yours. So this means you can turn houses around quicker. So now you can start turning properties around a lot faster. And as well as that, you can negotiate better deals. So you're getting money straight at the beginning. So it's a if you can obviously keep it up, it starts to come back round to you. And before you know it, you become a serious investor with serious equity or debt that you can use to your advantage to actually purchase properties faster, cheaper, renovate quicker. And it all sort of comes into place. Now, eventually, a lot of you have said, well, what about the debt on the properties? Eventually, these mortgages, they're 25-year long mortgages, and they're planned out at the beginning. Right, you're taking the mortgage out today at this price and this much a month. Over the course of 25 years, that's the end of the mortgage. It should be 100% all paid off and squared off. So there is a plan in place for each mortgage that you take out, that property at some point will be mortgage free. So imagine if you held on to this token for 25 years. You now have a portfolio, say I'm buying 5, 6, 7 properties a year. Potentially, you then have a portfolio of up to, 50 properties. Or well, obviously in 25 years' time, you'd expect to be a lot more. And as well as that, these mortgages start clearing off. You don't owe anything against any of them. So now your assets are continuously going up in price. Based on history, properties have always doubled in price every 9 years, on average. That's on average. That doesn't mean if I buy a house today, in 9 years' time, it will be worth double. And when you hear that, it sounds a bit unrealistic. But actually, if you own a house anywhere in the world, especially in the UK. I can't talk for many other countries, but mainly in the UK. If you bought a house 9 years ago, so you're talking 2010, 2011, and you bought it for 100 grand, is it unconceivable that that property is now worth 180, 190? If you're watching this video and you think that is completely unrealistic, then I don't know what part of the country you live in, but that is typically what has happened over the course of, a good 100 years worth of data. On average, properties have doubled in price every 9 years. So now we have a business model where the assets are going up in value, the tokens should be going up in value. We're receiving rental profits from all of these properties, and the debt is continuously decreasing. And because the assets are always going up in value, that debt becomes smaller and smaller. And if you don't understand what I mean by that, it's the same with like Nexo and Cellulus on the Bitcoin lending side. I will get my words out. If you borrow 50% of a Bitcoin right now, say you deposit one whole Bitcoin to Nexo and you borrow 50% of it, well, you're going to get $5,000 from Nexo, and you always owe that $5,000 against that Bitcoin if you ever wanted to own the private keys for it. Well, imagine if Bitcoin went up to $100,000. You still just owe $5,000. You don't own 50% against it. You now owe 5% against the Bitcoin, and you could sell 5% of your Bitcoin off, and that would clear your debt from the year or two before, whenever Bitcoin decides to go on that sort of rally. So therefore, the debt is becoming a smaller percentage of the debt to asset ratio, which is awesome. So that's a win-win. And that's what's happened in properties over the years. You see people, and you hear stories of people saying, I bought my house 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, and I bought it for £4,000, £3,000, 12. And you think, God, I wish I could buy a house for £12,000. But with inflation and obviously assets going up in price because the money printing machine just keeps going brr, those assets are worth more because you need more of that money to pay for it. So it's self-fulfilling, really, and it's really exciting for someone who's actually bought on that premise. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that will always happen, but it has happened for a long time consistently, especially in the UK. So you have to look at that and say it has been one of the best investments, apart from obviously buying Bitcoin at a very, very early stage. Properties has always been there to offer you a good return. Now, a lot of people saying, Glenn, you're buying at the wrong time. House prices are going up and we're due for a downturn. Well, I say bring it, because the best time to buy properties in terms of a investment point of view, not for your home and your personal living, the best time to buy was 2008 when all the market crashed. That was the best time to buy. Houses were all of a sudden lost 30-40% of value off their value sheet straight away. Boom. Now, if you're a cash buyer and you could say, look, you're in negative equity, the house is about to be repossessed, or it's in auction because of that reason, well, you're in a prime position and no one wants to touch houses because they've just dropped 30%. You go in there, you purchase a property for, instead of 100 grand, like we used that example earlier, you're now getting it for 60,000. You then renovate it, which will probably still cost you 15 to 20,000 to renovate. So now you spend 80 on it, but you give it 5 to 10 years. It's only if you sell it at that time that you would realise the loss. But you give it sort of 5 to 10 or even 9 years. The property prices are now back to where they were. And not only are they back where they were, they've surpassed it. A bit like the stock market when COVID hit. everything dropped 30%. And I told everyone, download Trading 212. This is the time to buy shares. It is the perfect time to buy shares. And everyone was saying, yeah, but COVID. And I said, yeah, but stocks and shares are never going to be as cheap as they are when companies around the whole world have completely stopped. How could that get any worse? Lo and behold, share prices are now way past where they were before. So literally you could have made that gain within a couple of weeks actually. So anyway, this is the point of Ether Homes, the token. If you are interested in getting involved, what do you need to do? Well, what you need to do is head on over to www.etherhomes.com and you can actually check out the smart contract address. You can view it on Etherscan if you don't believe me and you want to verify it yourself, and you can read all the contract coding. But you want to copy this address and you want to send Ethereum to that address. For every 1 Ethereum that you send to it, it will give you a ratio of 2,500 home tokens. Now, a lot of people will say to me, well, what does that equate to in terms of percentage? How much of the company do I own? People tend to get really stung on that because they really want to know how much percentage do they own of the company. Well, that all depends on how many people invest in the long run. If we go over to the home token page on Etherscan, we can actually click on here, holders, and depending on how much you buy, you can straight away, I mean, these are people that have just invested only a few days ago. They're already over 7,000 tokens or 4,900. This gives them a percentage of 17%. So at the moment, between the 3 of us, now I don't know who these other 2 people are, but between the 3 of us, we actually own about 67 to 70% of the overall supply. Now, this isn't what I wanted. I wanted it completely distributed between loads and loads of people, so it was fair, even. I didn't even want to have a majority share myself. Hence why I've only put in a couple of Ethereum into this smart contract. It's not because I don't believe in my own ability, my own mission. It's because I didn't want to put in 10 Ethereum into it and I be the majority shareholder no matter what. I wanted everyone else to be the majority shareholders, and then I was just going to put a bit in towards the end. That's pretty much the goal. That's pretty much what is happening. This is a completely fair and even pre-sale. There's 100% of the tokens up for sale. I'm not keeping any back for myself. Like I say, I'm having 25% shares of the company. That's nothing to do with the amount of tokens that are up for sale. 100% of these tokens are up for sale. So at the moment, we're on 28,000. So really we have a smaller circulating supply, if you like, or total supply than some of these Y tokens that have come out at the moment that have sort of 60 or 80,000 supply. So obviously for us to hit our soft cap and for this to actually be something, we actually need to hit about 300,000 tokens, roughly, depending on Ethereum and whether people get the 10% bonus. So just to give you a heads up, if you deposit more than 2 Ethereum, you actually get a 10% bonus on top of what you put in. So instead of getting, say, 5,000 home tokens, you would actually end up with 5,500, and that keeps going up. So if you put in 7 Ethereum, you would receive 10% on the whole lot. So it's worth doing if you've got 2 Ethereum spare. Currently, Ethereum is going up in price, and I did tell everyone that they should have got in earlier because it would have worked out cheaper. But really, it doesn't matter because the actual price of Ethereum doesn't matter too much, because 1 Ethereum is 1 Ethereum. In this smart contract world, you're putting in 1 Ethereum, it gets 2,500 tokens. It doesn't mean you need to put in 1 whole Ethereum. You can put in like 0.1 if you want, or 0.25, I don't know, whatever you want. But that's the ratio that you get, 1 Ethereum to 2,500 home tokens. You can check this all out yourself. It's all verifiable. You can contact me. You can message me on Twitter. You can message me on Telegram. Ask me any questions you want. You can show this off to the world. Read the smart contract. Anything you would like information on, it's there for you. This is a completely legit and honest pre-sale. I'm not trying to pull the rug on anyone. Obviously, my face, my name, my brand, everything is associated with this now. I would be an idiot to do anything to compromise this project from not being a success. So that's really it, guys. I hope I've explained that well enough. I hope that all makes sense. A lot of you say, oh, I don't quite get it, I don't understand it, and I agree that it is obviously quite deep, really. A lot of people in the cryptocurrency space, I literally used to just buy token, hope it goes up in price. That's it. That's all I have to think about. Whereas this, you're actually thinking about, well, what homes are you going to buy? How the debt going to work? What about the mortgages? How much percentage do I own of the house? What if there's more than one house involved? What if he leaves? What if he dies? What if, you know, if I want to get hold of some of these properties, and do I actually own some of it? So there's a lot more involved, and that's because you're investing in a business. This isn't a coin where I just say, right, okay, it's now associated with home, so it's going to go up in price. I'm not selling that sort of dream to you guys. This is a legit business. So if you want to be a part of it, check out www.ether-homes.com. The link will be in the description down below. It'll be the first thing that comes up. I will also put the smart contract address in there so you can verify the token sale yourself. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. Send me a Twitter on @BitGlenn, or you can contact me on the Telegram group chat, either via Ether Homes on Telegram or Team BitGlenn. It's entirely up to you. That's it from me, guys. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.